conference is being broadcast over the internet, including to parts of rural America, which is the point of today. Today we have three speakers. I'll introduce them in reverse order from how they speak. Before I do that, the process this morning, there will be speeches from three people. That will take maybe 15 minutes. Then we'll go to questions and answers. Is that okay for everybody? Ready to go? The speakers today in reverse order. First, Song Kai, Carl Song, Vice President of Corporate Comms from Huawei. Second, Glenn Nager from Jones Day, Huawei's external legal counsel on this case. And first, and I'd like to introduce to the stage all speakers, but to the lectern, please, Song Liuping, Dr. Song Liuping, Huawei's Chief Legal Officer. Please make your way to the stage. The first part of the conference will be using headsets for those who need translation from Chinese to English. Okay. Dr. Song.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and thank you for joining us. This morning, Huawei has filed a petition to overturn an unlawful order by the FCC in the U.S. On November 22nd, the FCC approved an order to label Huawei as a national security threat. This move will ban U.S. carriers from using money from the Universal Service Fund to buy Huawei equipment. Many people and small business in rural America do not have mobile network access. This decision will harm their interests. The FCC claims that Huawei is a security threat, but the FCC chairman, Ajit Pai, has not provided any evidence. This is a common trend in Washington these days. Huawei is a Chinese company. That's his only excuse. He has tried to spread fear about Huawei. He uses words like backdoor to scare people, but they offer no proof. The other FCC commissioners use the same talking points. This decision, just like the entity list decision in May, is based on politicals, not security. These politicians ignore an important fact. Huawei has been working with rural U.S. carriers for many years, and our customers trust our equipment. They are experts in the security of their own networks, and they like working with us. Carriers across rural America, in small towns in Montana, Kentucky, and farmers in Wyoming, they choose to work with Huawei because they respect the quality and integrity of our equipment. They also respect our service because other equipment vendors don't care about their needs. These carriers are often ignored by big vendors because there's not enough money in rural communities. The government should not shut down joint efforts to connect rural communities in U.S. In March 2018, the FCC began promoting the ban on Huawei. many rural carriers objected. So did the U.S.-based Rural Wireless Association. Huawei also submitted 21 rounds of detailed comments explaining how the order will harm people and business in remote areas. The FCC ignored all of them. Empty claims about national security are dangerous. Politicians in the U.S. say they are very concerned about cybersecurity, and we share these concerns. The fact is, banning a company like Huawei just because we studied in China, this does not solve any cybersecurity challenges. If the FCC is truly worried about the security of telecom supply chain, then they should understand this. Equipment made in China by any vendor should also have the same risks. So not only Huawei and ZTE, but also Nokia and Ericsson, who also manufacture in China. Replacing one set of equipment made in China for another set that is also made in China. Politicians and security consultants are smart people. They should know better. The U.S. government has never presented real evidence to show that the Huawei is a national security threat. That's because this evidence does not exist. When pushed for facts, they respond that disclosing evidence might also undermine U.S. national security. This is complete nonsense. Just last month, Bill Gates said that the rule that everything that comes from China is bad. That is one crazy approach. We could not agree more, and we are willing to work together with the United States government to prove the security of our product and service. When passing this decision, the FCC did not offer Huawei to process or verify the facts, but they very loudly and very publicly labeled our company as a national security threat. The FCC's order violates the Constitution, and we have no choice but to seek legal remedy. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Song. Now I'd like to introduce from Jones Day, our external legal counsel, Mr. Glenn Dacre, to address.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Glenn Dacre. I'm a partner at Jones Day. Our firm is outside counsel for Huawei in this matter. As Dr. Song has said, on Huawei's behalf, we have filed a petition for review of the FCC's order in the United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit. Our petition for review challenges the order both insofar as it purports to promulgate a rule that would restrict Universal Services Fund on the basis of national security judgments, and insofar as it arbitrarily and capriciously designates Huawei as a supposed national security threat. As we'll show in our briefing in this case, and as we showed in our comments submitted to the FCC, this order is contrary to the laws of the United States of America. The FCC issued this order through a process that was supposedly a rulemaking and that was supposedly addressed at the telecommunications industry in general. But in reality, at the behest of certain members of Congress, what the FCC has done here is illegally adopt a standardless rule that by its own ironic admission is aimed only and solely at Huawei and at ZTE. And the FCC has illegally applied that standardless rule to Huawei without giving it due process and without proper support in the law or in evidence. The FCC's order exceeds its own statutory authority. There is nothing in the Universal Services provisions of the Federal Communications Act that authorizes the FCC to make national security judgments or to restrict universal services funds on the basis of national security judgments. The FCC is a communications agency, not a national security agency. It has no expertise in national security, nor does it have authority to make national security judgments. That authority lies with the President of the United States of America, not an independent agency like the FCC. And in fact, Congress would not have the constitutional authority under the United States Constitution to commit national security judgments to an independent agency that is beyond the control and direction of the President of the United States. The FCC's order here is arbitrary and capricious within the meaning of the Administrative Procedure Act of the United States of America. The Administrative Procedure Act requires an agency of the United States that's proposing to promulgate a rule, in the course of promulgating that rule, to address all material legal arguments that are made to the agency and all material facts that are submitted to the agency in comments. And yet here the FCC's report and order is silent as to most, if not all, of the legal arguments and evidence that Huawei and many other commenters presented to the FCC. And its cost-benefit analysis considered only costs associated with prohibiting the use of USF funds to purchase Huawei and ZTE equipment and services, a remarkable deficiency that exposes the rule as part of just a mere campaign for targeting and burdening these two companies, as opposed to a genuine attempt to develop a generally applicable rule and a fair rule that would seriously protect telecommunications networks and supply chains. The rule is also unlawfully vague and inconsistent with the Due Process Clause of the United States Constitution. The order states no standards or criteria whatsoever for how a company would be identified and designated as a genuine threat to the integrity of communications networks or supply chains, again revealing that the Commission had its mind made up that it was going to designate Huawei and ZTE as opposed to articulate principles which could be applied to facts. And this order gives Huawei no pre-deprivation process, designating Huawei as a security threat without giving Huawei any opportunity to actually have the evidence and respond to it, and a fair and neutral decision maker. And this is contrary to all American constitutional traditions. The designation itself lacks legal basis and it lacks factual basis. It's based upon a fundamental misunderstanding and indeed misportrayal of Chinese law, another subject in which, of course, the FCC has no expertise whatsoever. And it's based upon unsound, unreliable, and inadmissible accusations and innuendo, not evidence which could form the basis for actual factual findings. It's simply shameful prejudgment of the worst kind. The rule of law to which the United States proudly adheres does not permit this kind of arbitrary and unfair action by a government agency. Under the rule of law in the United States, agencies have to have legal authority for taking actions. They actually have to have actual evidence for the facts that they purport to find. The ends do not and cannot justify unlawful means under the rule of law. And we are confident that the Fifth Circuit will vacate the Commission's order as contrary to United States law. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. And the final speaker before the Q&A, please welcome Carl Song to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Carl Song, the Vice President for Corporate Communication Department at Huawei, the former CEO of Huawei in the United States. Okay. You have heard the legal argument from Dr. Song and Mr. Glenn Nager, but here is also a more personal and emotional side of this story. I still remember the first time I set foot in Scobie, Montana. It's a very small town of around 1,000 residents near the US-Canada border, where I was visiting a customer. The CEO greeted me in his office and said one sentence I still remember today: "Welcome to nowhere." I understood deeply that mean it took me 8 hours to get there from Dallas, including a flight change in Denver and 3-hour drive to that town. During this 3 hours drive, I just met 2 cars on the road. It's definitely no man's land. For years, remote part of the U.S. has a very poor connectivity. You couldn't make a phone call when your car or your tractor broken down. If you need help to call for an ambulance on your cell phone, you probably get no signal. Today, things are much better, partly because of Huawei. We have built network in the place where other vendors would not go. They were too remote, or the terrain was difficult, or there just wasn't big enough populations. Other vendors saw those community and wrote them off as low-value customers. But for Huawei, there is no such thing. In U.S., we sell equipment to around 40 small wireless and wireline operators. They connected schools, hospitals, farms, homes, community college, and emergency service, etc. In just a moment, you will hear from some of those rural operators. You will hear them say how they trust us, they rely on us, and partner with us when other vendors had turned their back on them. This small wireline and wireless operator gave their community a digital lifeline. But that lifeline depends on the USF, Universal Service Fund. The FCC rule would cut off the operator from that fund. It could even force them to rip out equipment they have already installed. That would cost hundreds of millions of dollars. Those operators say if they have to go with that plan, they will probably go bankrupt. And the reality, heartbreaking thing is rip out Huawei gear won't make US network any safer. Our competitor has a lot of their equipment made in China. Some of them even have a joint venture with Chinese state-owned company. Their equipment is largely used in the United States. One FCC commissioner already cited roughly 40% of U.S. network contain equipment that made in China. Targeting Huawei will not change that situation at all. So in addition to the legal issue we are discussing today, please remember this. Our customer in U.S. provide vital connectivity to the real people in the real community. And those people rely on Huawei to stay connected. No one else wants to work with those community. They were too small, too remote, or not profitable enough. But Huawei comes through for them because that's what we do and what we did. And that's what we are fighting for today. So before we tell those folks that they can't available mobile and internet service in their community, let's listen what them have to say. Please pay.
Provider, one of the big challenges that we face is Tier 3 provider, one of the big challenges that we face is the fact that the big equipment providers, the folks who provide the stuff that makes all of this work, they don't really pay attention to us. The thing that I value most about Huawei, all of the gear is great, all the scalability is great, the future is great, but the thing that I value the most about Huawei is the relationship. Huawei does a great job at building a healthy relationship with companies like Eastern Oregon Telecom. Their technology services 1/3 of the world's population. Imagine how exciting that must be for a Tier 3 CEO to say, these folks actually want to do business with me. And so that's how we got started, and that's where we are today. And I think it's a remarkable story.
In our relationship with Huawei, you actually get not only the pre-sale support, but you get the after-sale support that we really are looking for. And so it was actually an awakening process to actually find out that there was a high-quality vendor that was providing this service.
Nobody in their right mind would shut down a network and shut down public safety. Sometimes I equate it to like flying in a jet with two engines, and you want to replace one of the engines while you're at 30,000 feet. Probably not a real good idea. If any foreign government wanted to spy on us through this type of technology, it wouldn't matter if this equipment is from China or the U.S. or from wherever. In the United States, we have a Constitution, we have due process, we're innocent until we're proven guilty and all of that, right? So let's pride in the guilt, but that sort of thing, that sort of guilt is not real apparent to the operators that are using this equipment today.
Nowadays with broadband is critical for people doing schoolwork. You got to get online as far as working from your home. These things are important for rural areas. And that's the way we've looked at the Huawei solution. It was definitely a practical way to go. We actually did what the regulators want us to do, to provide broadband service to reach these areas in the most economical way. What you want is somebody who's going to hear you and are going to take action, are going to address the issues you have. And that's what I have. That's what I've had with them. They've been great. When we made that decision 5-6 years ago to go with their solution, we knew there would be some risk because there were accusations made. But over the years, I've never heard anything. I've never received any proof. And if there were proof, if there was hard proof that this is a possible security threat, I'm a patriot. I wouldn't jeopardize our national security just for a buck. I think of Huawei as a partner.
So now it's time to turn the conversation over to you and your questions. Before we start, please, Alan Fan, if Alan could join the panel. Alan is the Huawei guy in the legal department who's managing this process. So to ask a question, the process is simple. Raise your hand. I will go international media, Chinese media in turn. Please, when you're selected, ask one question at a time. There's many media here in the room. We'll try and take some questions online as well if we can. So just tell us your name, the publication you're from, and your question. So I'm going to go to the first question to Dan Strump, the first hand I saw.
Hi, good morning. I was hoping you could elaborate a little bit on what the financial footprint that Huawei gets from these small rural carriers, and assuming it's small, why does Huawei then feel it so important to mount a second legal challenge now this year against the U.S. over what seems to be a pretty small revenue generator for the company? Thanks.
你好，我想请问的这个问题是和美国这些农村的小的运营商有关的。我想请问他们对于华为的财务影响其实究竟有多少？也就是收入影响究竟有多少？因为这个已经是针对美国农村的这些运营商的这个业务展开的第二次的这样的一个法律行动。那因为这些都是非常小的运营商，也就是说我们认为会默认这一些运营商贡献的收入比较小，那么为什么华为还会采取这一次的法律行动？
这个我们这一次法律行动是因为 FCC 这个把我们定义成威胁美国国家安全，而且不是基于事实，不是基于证据，而是基于猜测。公平的市场竞争是企业参与这个的一个非常重要的这个商业环境。因为这个规定这个 FCC 的这个法案实际上是剥夺了我们的 也包括这个行政的授权超越了他的行政授权。但
Firstly, we are taking this legal action because FCC has designated Huawei as a national security threat. However, this designation is not based on facts or evidence, but purely based on guesses. Secondly, we think that fair market competition is an important part of enterprise operation in the business world. However, the FCC rule has violated our constitutional right, and it is in violations of the due process, and it goes beyond its administrative authority.
我想补充一点，这项 FCC 的决定的话呢，把华为认定成美国国家安全的这个威胁。我想各位媒体同事的话，可以设想一下，如果是你们所在的机构在中国运营的时候，被中国政府认定成中国的国家安全威胁，对你们的业务会是一个什么样的损失？所以我们认为呢，这个名誉上的损失的话，可能会给华为带来更大的这个声誉上的影响。谢谢。
I would like to add a point that just to think about the designation of Huawei as a national security threat, as your organization operating in China being designated by China as a Chinese national security threat. Just think about the losses that it will cause to your organization. We think that it will bring about reputational losses, and that will have a further impact on our business.
我再补充一下这个Dan刚才提到问题，因为我在美国做过 CEO。我知道这个非常清楚，我们的在美国的这个销售和这个收入的问题。其实我可以向您 confirm， 华为在美国的收入。
Could confirm that for you. Our revenue generated in the U.S. compared to the corporate revenue is from the U.S. market, with the procurement that we have made in the U.S., which totals $11 billion. We kept see decreasing sales revenue and the number of employees in the U.S. as well.
Chinese media next. The gentleman in the black jacket in the front row. Then, sir, I'll come to you.
你好，是上海关 FCC 宣布决议以后，然后有媒体放风说华为将采取一个法律上的反制，然后紧接着华为的那个首席辩护律师 James Cole 就被
timing of several events when FCC announced its adoption of the rule. There was media coverage saying that Huawei was going to take legal action against the FCC adoption, but a short time after that, Huawei's chief representative, James Cole, was disqualified as a representative for Huawei case. Will the James Cole removal have an impact on Huawei's legal action towards the FCC?
我们对于纽约东区裁定我们的首席律师Jim Cole 取消他的代理资格表示失望。我们认为这个裁定剥夺了华为在宪法第6修正案获得自由聘请律师的权利。
With regards to the decision made by the Eastern District Court of New York, we are very disappointed in the court's decision, which we believe violates Huawei's Sixth Amendment right to counsel of its choice.
这个裁定出来以后，我们组建了新的律师团队， 那我们对于新的历史团队，这个充满了这个信心。
After the decision was made, we have formulated a new lawyers team, and we have full confidence in our new counsel team.
The gentleman in the grey jacket in the front. With a microphone, please.
Omar Khan, CGTN. You guys mentioned that there were 21 rounds of detailed comments submitted to the FCC, and it seems like all of them were ignored. Aside from saying that the order will harm people and businesses in rural communities, if you could expand a bit more on those 21 comments and what was included in that information. Thank you.
您有提到曾经向 FCC 提交了21轮的非常详细的这些意见和评论，那似乎这21轮的这些评论意见都全部被忽视了。而且您提到了 FCC 的这个命令对于美国农村地区的消费者以及企业都会产生伤害。那请您能不能够更详细的介绍一下这21轮的意见建议里面包含哪些具体的内容？
我们请我们的 Glenn 律师和 Alan 来回答这个问题。
I'm going to refer you to our lead counsel, Mr. Glenn Nager, and also Alan, for the question.
So we submitted comments addressing all of the legal authorities of the FCC, including the fact that the statutory provisions in the Federal Communications Act, every time they mention the words national security, they assign that authority to the President of the United States, not to the FCC, and that the FCC was ignoring the allocation of authority that was made under that statute. We submitted comments addressed to the economics of excluding Huawei from the U.S. market and the impact on poor and rural communities. We submitted evidence about the fact that, for example, the equipment that Huawei manufactures and that it issues it's not a telecommunications carrier, it's an equipment manufacturer. As a lot of the concerns that were being voiced by the FCC didn't match up with the services and equipment that Huawei actually provides. We've submitted economic testimony. We submitted expert affidavits from authorities on Chinese law because the notice for proposed rulemaking had made certain allegations about what cooperation Huawei did have to provide to the Chinese government, and we got scholars to explain through reports that that is a misunderstanding of Chinese law and Huawei's obligations. We also pointed out that Huawei's business in the United States is a separately incorporated entity that was incorporated under the laws of Texas and is subject to the laws of the United States, and that it intends to follow the laws of the United States. So those are just examples of the kinds of comments that we submitted to address each of the issues that were of concern. We put in evidence about Huawei's cybersecurity practices, its record around the world, to show Huawei's the investment that it makes in not only in innovation and providing telecommunication services, but the compliance programs that it has to ensure the security of its own systems for its customers.
我们一方面提交了关于 FCC 联邦通信委员会法律权威的一些意见。按照FCC 的这个法案的授权规定了，其实国家安全的这个定义呢，它是属于美国总统的权利，它不属于 FCC 的授权。所以每一次 FCC 只要提到国家安全这个词，其实就是逾越了 FCC 的授权。 第二，我们还提交了一些经济影响方面的这个评论和意见。因为如果禁止华为在美国市场提供服务，它会对美国贫困的这个农村的地区产生非常大的影响。我们有一些这个建议是关于这个方面的信息。那么第三呢，我们还提交了一些就是具体的证据，说明华为它其实只是一个电信设备的制造商，而不是电信运营商。那么 FCC 的很多的这个担忧其实并不符合华为作为这个服务提供商、设备制造商的身份。第四，我们还有更多的这些法律专家学者的证词。那么其中的一些指控是关于这个中国相关法律的要求。那么我们有这个专家的证词以及学者的报告的解读，去解读具体的这个中国法律的要求，以及华为需要如何与中国政府进行合作，澄清了里面对于中国法律以及华为职责的一些误解。那么华为美国公司是在德克萨斯州注册的独立法人，遵守本地的法律以及美国的法律。我们还给出了具体这方面的例子。那么第五呢，我们还在证言里面还包括这个华为网络安全的实践以及良好的记录。华为一直投资于电信行业里的这个技术创新，除此以外，华为也大力投资于建立完善的监管体系，确保华为提供的产品系统的网络安全。
我们从去年6月份到今年11月份，提交的关于中国法的专家报告呢，一共有7份。这些报告呢，逐一呢分析了中国和安全方面法律相关法律的法条，阐述了呢，中国呢没有一个法律没有一个法条的话呢，会迫使华为呢去给自己的设备中安装后门。但是呢，FCC 呢忽略了这些意见。FCC 呢在它的回应里边呢，去做了他对中国法的分析，甚至把中国的法律都翻译错了。我们还在这个程序中的话，提交了4份经济学家的报告。这4份报告里边的话呢，分析了排除限制华为在美国参与竞争所对美国经济带来的损害。一份专家报告呢，指出呢，在2017到2020年期间，限制华为的政策呢，会给北美的消费者带来200亿美元的额外成本，因为他们要负担更高的网络建设的这个费用。我们还有一份经济学家报告呢，指出，因为排除限制竞争，排除限制华为，会给美国的5G 网络带来6个月到18个月的延迟，给美国的 GDP 呢带来1000亿到2400亿美金的损失。但 FCC 呢，也忽略了这些意见，而且呢，还要求美国的纳税人呢，继续呢为搬迁华为的在网设备，去付出更多的成本。那我们给那个FCC 提交的这个安全方面的这个专家意见还有证词呢，说明了为什么5G 的网络比4G 的网络从标准的角度来说的话就是更安全的。也提供了华为在全球做出的各种建设安全网络方面的经验和这个案例。华为在全球更好的这个提供非常良好的这个网络安全的这个记录。但是呢 FCC 呢也忽略了这些意见。FCC 呢在它的这个决定里边呢，其实是认可了自己的话呢是没有在安全方面的这个经验的，认可了这些经验的话，在美国的话呢是在其他的部委当中。但是呢他还是呢指认了自己的一个下边的一个局级单位去做这个所谓的国家网络安全国家安全威胁的这么一个认定。实际上在这个1年多的这个过程中的话，华为做了非常多的努力，希望和美国政府的话去对话，消除他们在安全方面的这些个担忧。但是 FCC 呢却没有考虑我们这些意见。我们去跟 FCC 的这些委员去约会见，他们没有一个委员愿意见我们，他们安排了一些下属见了我们，但是呢他们会去见我们的竞争对手 和我们的竞争对手呢一起来讨论如何去制定这个排除限制华为的这个政策。所以我们觉得呢 FCC 的这个程序呢非常遗憾呢，它不可能对华为的问题呢做出一个非常客观的一个判断。所以我们希望呢能够在法院的程序中的话得到一个公正的对待。
From June last year to November this year, we have submitted altogether 7 expert reports on the Chinese law, and we have interpreted we have seen interpretation in those reports regarding very detailed terms and provisions in the Chinese law regarding cybersecurity. And China has no law or no terms in those laws forcing Huawei to install backdoors. However, such comments in the expert reports have been ignored by the FCC. And when the FCC responded to our comments, they just ignored those comments and continued with their own analysis. And sometimes the analysis was based on even wrong translation of the Chinese law. In addition to that, the comments included 4 economist reports, and those reports analyzed the impact of banning or restricting Huawei from fair competition in the U.S. and its economic losses. And one report pointed out that it expects the U.S. would have to pay $20 billion of additional costs. North America consumers will have to pay $20 billion additional costs from 2017 to 2020 if Huawei was restricted from competing in this market. This would be a heavy cost on the consumers because they have to pay more for the network rollouts. On top of that, banning Huawei or restricting Huawei from this market will cause the 5G rollouts in the US to delay 6 to 18 months. Such delay in the 5G network rollouts would mean losses of 100 to 240 billion US dollars in the GDP of the United States. However, FCC again ignored these comments. And instead they asked the U.S. taxpayers to pay for the extra costs in order to remove Huawei equipment in the live networks in the U.S. And in these comments, there were also expert comments and testimonies highlighting that from a standard point of view, 5G network is inherently more secure than the 4G network. And Huawei's got a stellar track record and a sound experience in rolling out secure networks around the world. But these once again have been ignored by the FCC. They only recognize their own analysis. However, they do admit that they have a lack of expertise in cybersecurity, and they have borrowed the expertise from other U.S. government agencies. And it has delegated to one of its agencies to come up with a conclusion of designating Huawei as a national security threat, in spite of the fact that they have admitted that they don't have the expertise in cybersecurity. For our efforts over the past year and more, we have tried and engaged in dialogues and conversation with the U.S. To address their concerns. However, when we proposed to meet and engage with the FCC commissioners, they refused to meet with us, but instead they sent their subordinates to meet with us. However, these commissioners met personally with Huawei's competitors and discussed with them how to restrict or ban Huawei. We feel very sorry that the FCC procedure is not quite likely to come up with an objective conclusion, and we hope that we'll be able to receive a fair treatment in the court procedure.
I'm going to go to Raymond John first, and then come to you. Raymond from New York Times.
Hi. Raymond Zhong from the New York Times. Dr. Song, could you tell us why Li Hongyuan, Zheng Meng, and 3 other Huawei employees were detained earlier this year for various labor disputes? Does the length of their detentions strike you as fair, just, and proportionate? Thank you.
这个是请问宋博的一个问题。我想请问一下就是今年李宏源、曾梦以及其他3个人因为劳动纠纷被拘留，您觉得他们拘留这个时间是公平、公正并且恰当的吗？
第一，我们感谢公众和社会对这个事件的关注。第二，我想说的，这不是一个劳动纠纷事件。然后第三，华为公司已经发布了相关的对这个事件的声明。我今天没有更进一步的补充意见。
Firstly, we appreciate and thank the public attention to this matter. Second, the matter that you brought about was not a case of a labor dispute. Regarding the issue, at this point, I don't have more to add. Could you use the microphone? Thank you.
If it's not a labor dispute, could you tell us what the issue is? What's the problem?
如果不是劳动纠纷的话，劳资纠纷的话，那请问您能向我们解释一下它是一个什么样的事情吗？
我说了，我们是进行了对于涉嫌，我们的声明写得很清楚，对涉嫌违法犯罪进行举报。所以它不是一个劳动纠纷，我没有再多的评论。
As is stated very clearly in our public statement, we are obligated to report to the authorities if we find any suspicious unlawful act, and that is why we say it is not a case of labor dispute. And again, at this point, I don't have more to add other than the statement that we have put out there.
The lady in the top.
您好，我是财经杂志的记者。有一个问题是，就华为判断 FCC 的这个决策是否也会影响到欧洲的通信监管机构？谢谢。
Do you think that the FCC decision is going to have a further impact on the European regulatory authorities?
第一，我们反对用行政的手段干预市场的选择，因为这样会使得我们的客户剥夺他们选择先进技术的权利。
To start with, we oppose the use of administrative intervention with the market choices because we believe such administrative intervention is denying the customers their right to choose advanced technologies.
第二，最近一段时间以来，美国政府和政客向世界各国施压，让他们不要选择华为的设备，这也是一个行政干预市场的行为，或者说政治干预市场的行为。我们认为也是会影响市场竞争的。
Recently, the U.S. government and the U.S. politicians are pressurizing countries around the world and trying to convince them not to use Huawei equipment. And we reckon these actions as administrative intervention or political interventions in the market. We think that this has an impact on normal market competition.
我们欣慰地看到很多欧洲国家在对于电信网络产品的选择，对于是否这个威胁安全的问题，有他们自己独立的判断。我们认为这是一个正确的方向。
We are happy to see that many European countries have their independent opinion and decision making with regards to the choice of which vendors' telecom equipment to use and what kind of issues amount to security issues. And we think that this points to the right approach forward when it comes to these kind of problems.
用行政的方式去干扰市场，最终使得市场缺乏竞争，最后受损害的是各个当地国家，也是由这个国家的人民来买单的。
if there are administrative interventions in the market causing the market to be reduced to a situation of a lack of competition, at the end of the day, it will be the local countries and it will be the consumers that pay for the price.
I'm going to come to David from Reuters, and then I'll come to you.
Planning any further legal action against the U.S. government at this stage? And what do you think your chances are of winning in the FCC case?
请问华为未来还计划针对美国政府提起其他的法律行动吗？那么此外，就今天的这个针对 FCC 决定的上诉，华为认为自己胜诉的概率有多少？
第一，如果我们的权利受到了损害，我们会考虑用法律的武器来维护我们自身的合法权益。
If we believe our lawful rights have been violated, then we can think of defending ourselves through legal means.
我们相信，我们所提出的这些主张是有充分的法律基础的，我们也对这个案件充满了希望。
We believe our legal arguments for the case have very good legal merit, and we are very hopeful about the case.
The lady in the center, and then we'll come over here.
最近有媒体报道说，美国政府可能会出台更多限制华为使用美国的技术。请问华为在这方面有没有一些接下来政策方面的调整？以及最近华为也是在考虑将美国的研发中心移向加拿大。那么想问一下，就是华为是否仍然还对美国的这个科研的这个资源具备一定的吸引力？
We have seen some media reports recently that the U.S. government is taking further measures to restrict Huawei from using U.S. technologies. So the question is, what kind of adjustments is Huawei going to make in response of this? And we have also seen that Huawei is thinking about moving its research centers in the U.S. to Canada. So if this is the case, then will Huawei remain attractive when it comes to the research and development talent in the U.S.?
我们也听说了一些市场的传闻，但是呢，我们认为美国之所以伟大，实际上是在于它的开放包容和它的这个法治。如果我们这个背离了这种开放透明的精神，背离了这个法治的精神，最后受伤害最大的可能是自己，特别是如果一些权利被过度的滥用，最后的伤害可能是自己。
We have become aware of these hearsays. Well, coming back to the question, the United States is a great country because it embraces openness, inclusiveness, and the rule of law. If it runs counter to being transparent, being open, and being inclusive and embracing the rule of law, then it will do harm to itself. And we think that any abuse of power will also do harm to itself.
我们仍然坚持开放的态度，去拥抱全球化，包括我们研发的全球化，包括我们供应链的全球化。那我们如果在法律的允许的情况下，我们也愿意继续跟美国保持合作。
We firmly embrace globalization. We firmly embrace globalized research and development and globalized supply chain. While complying with the law, we're still very willing to cooperate with the U.S.
第三，如果美国采取行政的方式排除华为这个在当地的一些研发和投资，那我们只好这个选择这个其他地方，这是我们不得已的选择。那我们当然也更希望这个 这个全球的研发、全球的供应链能够继续保持。
In addition to that, if the United States continues to take administrative measures to ban Huawei from participating in local R&D activities or from investing in the local community, then we are left with no other choice but to move to another location. But we still hope that the world continue to see globalized R&D and globalized supply chain.
Okay, we'll come to NHK in the front, second from the.
谢谢，您好，财新的记者，我想问一下，因为刚刚在视频里面有很多的美国运营商出来发声，我想问一下，在这次跟 FCC 的这个诉讼中，这些美国的运营商是否也会无论是提交文件还是出庭去帮助华为去打赢这个官司，以及在现在这个 FCC 的决定出台之后，他们没有办法使用美国的资金就政府补贴资金去购买华为的设备，未来你们会在美国市场对这些已有的客户会采取什么样的一个措施来面对这样的一个局面？谢谢。
From the video, we have seen a lot of U.S. carriers making their voices heard. So I wonder, will the telecom carriers in the U.S. also appear in court or submit comments so as to help Huawei win the case? Will they do that? After the adoption of the FCC rule, we understand that these carriers will no longer be able to use the government subsidies to purchase Huawei equipment. So for the existing rural carrier customers of Huawei in the U.S., what measures is Huawei going to take to help them address this problem?
在 FCC 公开征求意见的时候，我们许多的客户就是这些运营商以及行业协会都分别提出了反对的意见，但是这些意见都被 FCC 所忽视了。
During the period of comment of the FCC, these carriers and also industry associations have submitted their comments to oppose the move. However, their comments have been ignored by the FCC.
我们华为的基本概念是我们会这个是一家以客户为中心的公司，所以我们在法律允许的范围内，我们会继续为我们的客户提供优质的服务。
Huawei is a customer-centered company. While following the law, we'll continue to provide high-quality services to our customers.
我们这个程序和其他的诉讼程序不一样的地方在于呢，它主要的这个证据的话，都是来自于FCC 在征求意见过程中所收集的这些意见。我们现在呢不知道这些运营商呢是否会加入这个诉讼，但是呢他们确实在这个意见提交的过程中提交了非常多的意见。我们这块有一个统计，所有的这个意见加在一块儿的话呢，大概是90份提交到 FCC， 其中呢52份，就是58%的意见，实际上都是反对 FCC 的 rule， 是支持华为的。我们一些运营商呢，在他们的这个证词中，他们 CEO 签的这个签字的证词当中，提到呢说他们用华为的设备，是从来没有出现过任何安全问题。而他们用华为的设备呢，是因为他们的华为的竞争对手给他们的这个报价是华为报价的2到4倍。虽然说华为呢是唯一一个能够在技术上满足他们要求的这个厂商。他们还有提到呢，说 FCC 这个 rule 的话，如果被实施，将可能会导致他们破产，将导致相应的这个地区的话失去网络覆盖。但非常遗憾呢，这些意见的话都没有被采纳，所以我想呢，他们的意见的话呢，都会在法院的这个程序中的话会得到考量。
This procedure is different from the procedure of other litigations because the evidence of this procedure primarily comes from the comments collected in the period of comment solicitation. We don't know if these carriers are going to join the litigation, but we do know that these carriers have submitted many comments in the comment solicitation phase, and altogether there have been 90 comments submitted. 52 out of the 90 comments, i.e. 58% of the comments opposed the rule of the FCC, and they were supporting Huawei. And we have seen the affidavits signed off by the CEOs of these rural carriers, and what they have said in those testaments is that to start with, they have never had any security incidents from using the equipment provided by Huawei. Second, the quotation that Huawei's competitors offered was 2 to 4 times more expensive than Huawei's. Thirdly, and Huawei is the only vendor that was able to meet their technology requirements. And fourthly, if FCC is going to follow through the rule that they have adopted, then it would very likely bankrupt these rural carriers, and it would cause the coverage of many networks to go out. However, these comments have not been adopted by the FCC. We hope that these comments will get a fairer treatment in a court procedure.
And on that point, I'm going to call the event to a close. We started on time, we finish on time. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your questions. Please join me in thanking our speakers, Alan, who just finished talking, Dr. Song Luping, Glenn Nager from Jones Day, and Song Kai. And as ever, thanks to the translator for doing an impossible job. Thank you all very much.